Welcome back, guys, for another episode of In Plain Sight. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into what it is to be a parent during COVID. I think a really good perspective comes from myself and Matt here as we dive into what it was for us to bring in our infants through COVID. Um, I think the main thing that you're going to get out of this is all the planning that you could actually do will mean nothing if like the world turns on its head and you don't really know what that means until it happens. For us, it was COVID. So we wanted to give you our perspectives. We wanted to tell you how we planned going into it, how everything changed, and then how we had to like maneuver in order to get back to some semblance of raising a family. With that being said, I gave you a bit of a spoiler. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Andy, and this is
Matt, hello.
all right. And as customary, we're going to start off with talking about what we're drinking. Matt, what do you have today?
I don't have much of a story behind mine. I just realized last night I don't have any beer. So I quickly went to 7-Eleven and I got a 7-Eleven beer.
Whoa, 7-Eleven actually makes beer?
That was my reaction as well. And it's 9% alcohol.
That's amazing. Okay, all right.
Yes.
Are you gonna taste it, or are you gonna
Yeah,
just okay?
I'm gonna drink it. And then so it's a 7-Eleven premium. I don't know if you can see that on there, the icon. I think the
Strong
camera is flipped.
vodka with soda and lemon. For our listeners, is just like there's a big old 9% alcohol in there, a tiny 7-Eleven symbol at the top, and then lemon strong sour.
Yes, with vodka. So let's try this. And I think it's made in Japan. There's a lot of Japanese
For the
text on it.
headphone users, like watch the crack about to happen. It's a can.
Yep. All right.
He's having trouble. Oh,
I'm
never
about to
mind. You
drink it.
got it. Nice.
It has a interesting taste.
Does it taste like sour lemon as opposed to unsoured lemon?
It tastes very
Lemony?
not nice.
Okay. All
No,
right.
it tastes like you would expect from a 7-Eleven beer. That is sour lemon or
So if you
strong
had to
lemon.
choose between having a 7-Eleven hot dog or a 7-Eleven beer, which one would you get?
I would choose a hot dog.
Oh God! Wow, is that bad? All right.
But well, here's hoping the 9% makes up for it. So cheers.
Let you know in 20 minutes.
Hmm.
All right, guys. I have a Colombian rum. I'm going to butcher this name, Canasteros, which you're not gonna be able to see. Um, it's 80 proof, 40% alcohol. I'm not. I want to get more into rum. I wish I knew more about it, but I get gifted it a lot, so I am trying my best to wade in those waters. Uh, I will tell you on the nose, it already smells super, super sweet. A lot of vanilla notes. It's actually not too sweet. Um, it's pretty good. It doesn't burn a lot, given that it's 80 proof, but it's tasty. I again, I'm not much of a rum guy, but I would drink this pretty easily. Um, yeah, pretty lackluster alcohol we have today here, Matt.
It's not nice, huh? Is it
So,
smooth at least?
actually, yeah, it's pretty smooth. I'm pleasantly surprised. It's got a huge body on it for those of you that actually care about that. But, um, yeah,
Not
it's
much. It's
it's
not
more
very
pleasant
strong
than I
flavor.
expected. I expected this to be like pungent and like bitter and kind of nasty and reminiscent of Captain Morgan. But this is really good.
Yeah, he said people gift that to you a lot.
Yeah. I get rum a lot in gifts. I think it's
Oh,
because I talk about rum a lot because I want to get into it, as
oh,
opposed to Scotch. I have a lot of experience with Scotch, and I love Scotch. And I think everybody gets incredibly afraid to gift me Scotch because they're like, "Oh, he's probably had this and it probably sucks." So
Yeah. That elitist, the
yeah,
elitist snob.
as I found out from a few episodes ago, I may be an elitist snob when it comes to Scotch. So it makes more sense. So
Yeah.
let's dive into it. I I had my son came into our lives like May of 2020, and COVID at the time was in full swing on my side of the world. I'm in the DC area, and uh, at that point, Steph and I were concerned that both of us wouldn't even be allowed into the hospital at the time. Like, we were hearing rumors about how New York was kicking out the husbands, so they couldn't be present for the birth. Um, that's that. Apparently, that was only really true in very small hospitals, usually privately owned. Most public hospitals didn't have that concern. I know there were certain people who had planned to have their pregnancy or their births at home or in other locations at other birthing centers, and they had to change what they were doing because of COVID. So I would keep that in mind as you're lurking with your birthing plans. But I wanted to start off by talking about when our kids came in our lives and at what point COVID affected us. So for me, COVID was just getting to its full swing. My son was born, and all of a sudden we were trying to figure out how to juggle a dog at home and both of us being stuck at the hospital. I couldn't leave because if I left, I'd have to go through the entire transition to just to get back into the room. So, mask up, the whole like checking temperature. I had to do another test. It was a whole 9 yards. So I couldn't really leave the hospital. I was there um, the full 3 days with my wife, and then when we left, it was just like I hope everything was okay, and we would transition out with Stephanie's brother, who was taking care of our dog, who left before we got home, so that we wouldn't worry about contact. So that's kind of where COVID played into the birth of my son. So, do you want to talk about your daughter, Matt?
Sure. Uh, our daughter is actually born a few months before Andy's was. Um, but I feel like we got pretty lucky throughout the whole situation because actually in early 2020, we were living in the States at the time. Oh, not 2020, sorry, 2019. 2019. We were living in the States. And then something just told me that I was like, we need to go to Singapore now. For some reason, I just had this feeling while Joyce was pregnant that we should go to Singapore. And this was way before COVID was even on the radar. It was like small snippets of it in the news in China. And then, so we went to, so we started the process of immigrating over back to Singapore, my wife's hometown, my home country. And when we got here, we started hearing more and more about it. But luckily, it, Riley was born in January of 2020, and COVID hasn't really came to Singapore yet. So we're able to escape it just by like 1 or 2 months, I feel like.
Mm.
And um, we're at the hospital. Um, we didn't have to worry too much about restrictions or anything like that. So that was very nice. We felt very lucky because like immediately, like a few weeks later, the whole hospital closed down, locked
Oh
down.
wow! So it
Similar,
was literally almost the same month, within a
yeah,
month
within the same
anyway.
month.
Oh,
Within a month, like a week or two later, it was locked down. But luckily for us, we were able to have family come over, so we didn't miss that experience. Um, but I would say that our story of Riley coming to being born was kind of funny. Uh, I was always very anxious. And I was always reading, doing what you should not do is go into Google and search, hey, is this okay? My wife is feeling this way. Is she okay? And for whatever reason, that night when she was born at home, um, there was there was a lot of kicks, a lot,
hmm.
and then all of a sudden I feel like there was nothing for a while, which was abnormal. And so I told Joyce, like, this is like 2 a.m. in the morning, 1 or 2 a.m. It's like, I think we should go to the hospital just in case. And she's like, and Joyce was like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's okay. I was like, can we just go just to make myself feel better? I was worried about maybe like the umbilical cord got like
Oh
trapped
God.
around the neck or something. Yeah. I was like reading nightmare posts about it.
Way
I
to
was like,
psych
okay.
yourself out.
Yeah. So we didn't. So again, this is 2 a.m. in the morning. Joyce is just trying to make me feel better. So we didn't even tell our family that we were going to the hospital.
Oh, so you guys just went, just got up and went. How'd
Yeah.
you convince her?
No,
Did she finally just give up and was like, "Fine, let's go"?
she just saw me googling pregnancy. It's like, okay, fine. If we go to the hospital, will you sleep? It's like, yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so we didn't bring any bags. We didn't bring anything with us to the hospital. We
So
didn't tell our family
did
at
they
all.
check your temperature or anything, or did you just
No, no,
just regular like walk in and
no.
everything
Yeah,
was
yeah.
dandy?
We just walked in. Everything
Wow.
was fine.
Okay. Okay.
No restrictions. It was just we just walk. We call ahead of time to say can we come in and stuff, but there was no checkups or anything like
So
that.
then I have a question for you. So, before I imagine you did this as much as I did. Before your daughter was born, did you have like a plan? Like, I need to get this together. I have to get the nursery going. I need to make sure I have items X, Y, and Z. And then after COVID hit, you were like, oh man, I should have had like all this other stuff. Like half the crap that I bought doesn't even matter right now. Did you get to that point?
I felt like we didn't buy enough.
Oh really? Okay. Tell me about that.
We didn't buy. Um,
Like what didn't you have that you like if you did this all over again with hindsight, what would you have bought?
uh, it's a hard question to answer because I can't think of anything too much off the top of my head. But I just remember we did a lot of shopping for just general small things afterwards, like, oh, this would be useful. And but we just sent our family to quickly go to the store to buy whatever small things we needed. It wasn't anything um, too critical.
Okay, so not like a newborn diapers or anything like that. You had those.
Yeah, we had diapers, we had all of that,
Okay.
and supplies wise in Singapore, it was never a struggle.
Okay.
Maybe not like how it was in the States. Um, but we did do a lot of preparation. We had a crib and everything, but our room was dirty. It was messy. Our house. We had to clean a lot of things. Like crap, we have a baby here now, and we have to clean at the same time. And then, luckily, we had a lot of family support. But I was gonna say when we went back to the hospital, the Joyce, I couldn't go in the hospital room with her to do the checkup to make sure the
Oh,
baby was okay.
okay. Wow.
So they left me out, and then all of a sudden Joyce comes out and she starts crying. It's like, oh, why are you crying?
Oh yeah, that
Like,
would have freaked me out.
yeah, I thought that was the end of it. She's like,
Oh.
oh, it's happening now. It's happening now. Like, we're having a baby. Oh, yay! Oh, and by the way, yeah, your fears were totally unwarranted. Everything was fine. Ba- Baby moving is a good thing.
Hey, I'm glad you
Yeah,
guys
so
went. That's awesome.
yeah, so luckily, because apparently Joyce was in labor the last 2 or 3 days.
Oh wow, wow, she's a trooper. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, she was having contractions for like 2 days, and she didn't notice at all. Yeah, the whole pregnancy after that was pretty smooth. I feel like.
At what point did you feel the impact of COVID, or ever?
I feel like we did. It was the paranoia of family coming over to visit the baby,
Mm-hmm.
and family is very important to me, as it is for you.
Yep.
And I wanted people to have that experience of coming over and like holding the baby. But every time I felt like, should I? Are you okay? Where did you go? What are the last 5 places you've been to? Especially for some of my family whose work where they had to deal with a lot of people at once.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and it was still the early days. This was January, February of 2019, and I and I felt one of the early moments was when um, Riley was still in the crib and she was very small, and Joyce's cousin, who also has a 5-year-old kid, came over, and the kid was just going crazy.
Oh, jeez.
High energy, off the walls, bouncing all over the place.
Like wearing a mask or no?
No, no mask
No
at this
mask.
time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then while Riley was sleeping in her crib, the kid jumped on top of the cot and was like shaking it and was like, and as soon as she jumps off of the crib, she goes, "Achoo,
Oh.
achoo, achoo."
Oh, jeez.
And she wants to climb it again. I was like, no, 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 you did not. This is. And I was like, but I couldn't say much. And I was like, I went to Joyce. I was like, I am not okay with this. And then afterwards, the kid was just constantly like sneezing, coughing all over the place. Even without COVID, I would have been worried. And then the Joyce's cousin, I was like, it's okay. She's not sick. We already went to the doctor. The doctor said she's fine, not contagious. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay.
No, I mean, yeah. No, the sneezing was still bothered me for sure. Like
But yeah,
as
it turned.
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, no, nothing.
As we were going to the hospital, like, actually not even, probably like a month before the hospital, I was already researching like, hey, what's the effect of COVID on an unborn infant? And I was worried that if Steph caught COVID, that while he was still in the womb, that he could catch it. Um, Again, stupid fear, but I was researching that, and it's rare. It does happen, but it's incredibly rare. CDC has a whole workup on it if it's something that you're concerned about, and you should look at it. They also have a workup on whether or not you can transmit COVID through uh, breastfeeding, and whether you can provide the antibodies necessary for COVID through breastfeeding. Spoiler: you can't, but it's still a good workup. CDC has a really nice article on it, and you should definitely take a look. An interesting thing that I found though was with coronavirus, it can mask or develop. I'm not quite sure the pathology there, but RSV. There was an like increased event rate of RSV within the United States at the same time of COVID. So I'm guessing there was some kind of at least correlation there. I had to go look it up. I'm going to butcher this. Respiratory syncytial virus. A lot of people are laughing right now. I'm right there with you. Um, Apparently, the COVID and that can share a lot of the same symptoms, and it was being masked and it wasn't being caught in time. This is actually pretty deadly. So if your infant is exhibiting any of those symptoms, like don't just say, oh, it's COVID, they'll be fine because they're kids and it doesn't affect kids the same way. Like, just go get it checked out. It's serious. It might not be COVID. It could be something much worse. So that was always in the back of my head, and I was scared the entire time. And that was before I even showed up to the hospital for.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And
so you were already aware of this before he was born?
yeah, yeah, I was, and like, Steph's a medical professional, so when before she's a medical professional who did a residency at a hospital, so I was already terrified of everything in a hospital anyway. They can only clean things so much. They try as they might, but like they can only do so much cleaning, and then like certain germs just become resistant to everything. So I was already concerned with the fact that my infant was um, like in this kind of atmosphere. I will say, hospital was amazing, fantastic staff. Like, it was a crash course. In 3 days, I learned a lot. I slept a little, which brings me to my next topic. How much sleep did you get in the first week that you had your daughter?
Uh, very little. Be- because it was my first kid, I was paranoid about everything. and I was thinking about buying like those oxygen things, oxygen socks.
Oh,
Have you
yep.
tried those before?
No, we had them. We had them for a very long time. It was gifted to us from Stephanie's brother.
Yeah. Do you think they were helpful?
They helped me sleep at night.
Oh,
Yep.
did they?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Like being able to see that white light on, knowing that he's okay. I was able to sleep better at night.
I was not. I didn't use those. I thought about it at the time. I was like, do I
Because
want to
it
really want
let
to
me
spend
know.
$200, $300?
So
Yeah.
so the week before he was born, I stuck the sock on my I think I put it on my palm or something wherever I can find a pulse, and I held my breath. And I was like, at what point is this going to go off? And it took like 45 seconds or so before it started like going off and saying low oxygen levels, and I was in like dire pain. So I wanted to know at what point I needed to be sprinting over to my son.
Oh,
So I knew when that if that alarm went off, then I needed to be there very quickly, and
oh,
probably
that's
be calling
nice.
911 at the same time. But I definitely think those socks are worth it. I wish I knew the
Just
name
for
of
that
them.
peace of mind.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Worth it. But go ahead, please tell me what else. What else do you got?
No, it's just that. So I just misguided view that me and Joyce had to be in awake with a few hours at a time. So like we had to take shifts. So when Joyce was sleeping, I was awake, even at like 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning, just watching. Is this baby okay? Is this baby okay?
Yep.
Just constantly checking, like putting my hands, checking to see if they're breathing or not. And because we used a lot of the swaddles, is it called? Yeah,
Yeah.
we had her all swaddled up. So, and then I also had a misguided view too. Like, I can watch TV while she's sleeping.
Oh no. Well, I mean, I don't know. He did all right with a ton of noise. We were in a condo at the time, and like in his first month or two of life, the fire alarm went off twice, and both the times it was at 2 or 3 a.m. So we end up taking our kid out of his bassinet, making sure the swaddle's nice and tight on him, and then carrying him downstairs with everything, absolutely everything, in case it was a real fire, so we can just hop in our car or go
Oh
to a
wow.
hotel, whatever. So Steph and I are completely exhausted. We're carrying this kid, going all the way downstairs to find out that it was some kid that pulled the alarm both times.
Oh,
The entire time, though, he was asleep. He was knocked out.
are you
Didn't
serious?
care about the lights going off. Didn't care about the sound. Nothing. Get back
Oh man.
in. Everything quiets down. Put him down, and he just wakes up.
Oh,
And it is the worst feeling in the world.
why? Like why?
But Steph and I did something similar to Joyce and you, and I don't know if it's misguided, but we took 4 hour shifts where one person would
Right.
go in the master bedroom, shut the door, and just get sleep. The other person would go in the living room next to his bedroom and sleep with the door open, so that if he starts crying, we could go in there and feed him real quick. Stephanie was breastfeeding at the time, so I would just go get whether it was a syringe or whatever it might have been, how much he needed, and I would just bottle feed him, and then put him back down in his bassinet. I will say, to me, the best purchase we ever made for him was this electronic bassinet that every single time he would cry or like shuffle in some way, it would notice he's awake, and there'd be a mechanism in there, and it would start to vibrate and shake him, and then it would give him
Oh,
like this soothing sound too in his ears. It super expensive but worth every penny. We got
wow.
so much extra sleep from it, and it gave us like stats on his sleep. I was able
Ah,
I bought a little Wise camera that you can get for 15 bucks, and I was able to watch him the entire time too, no matter where I was.
wow.
I loved it. It was fantastic. Like those peace of mind things helped out a lot, but again, like you, we didn't sleep for the first 3 months. It was brutal, and for anybody listening, like this is super important because you don't function well without sleep. And you don't realize how much less you function until you go, a good 2 weeks without sleep, and you realize why did I just put my shoe in the fridge? Um, doesn't need to go in the fridge. So I think we're bringing this up just because, yes, to get you prepared for it, but to set yourself up with like small things that are giving you convenience. Like at the front, you're like, no, whatever. I don't need to buy the little swaddle me's where I can just Velcro him into a swaddle. If you could spare the expense, go for it. That's one less step with the swaddle. You don't have to do it with the blanket. You don't have to worry about how tight it is. It's just put him in the little sack, flip it over,
Exactly.
Velcro him in, and he'll just go to sleep. Did you find any gadgets like that that you thought were super convenient and super helpful?
Yeah, nothing quite like that. We didn't go too high tech, but what you mentioned sounds very useful.
It's amazing. We're going to do it again if we have a second kid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If we have a second kid, we're definitely gonna be buying that. But we did have, funnily enough, because before I was always worried about, I was always I was always the type to where I pay attention to statistics,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to cradle. Is it cradle death? What's the
Um,
term for it?
Sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS.
Yes, an infant.
Mm-hmm.
Right, SIDS. I was always worried about SIDS before Riley was born, even after as well. Um, but actually, I was surprised how fast we were to not use the crib. Actually,
Oh,
so we got one of those, or we were gifted it from one of our family friends, a kind of like cot, small cot that you can put on the bed. There's a proper term for it, but I forget what it's called. It is protected, and we can actually sleep. We actually slept with Riley
a
for,
co-sleeper.
a co-sleeper, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a co-sleeper that we used with her for almost after 3 or 4 weeks of taking care of her, and I felt like I got much more sleep after that. So I could
Yeah,
just quickly wake up, touch her. You okay? Yeah, you're okay. I go back to sleep.
yeah. I think that for the first month we actually kept his bassinet in our bedroom, so neither of
Did
us
you?
slept ever. But yeah. After that, we started basically when the and again, like time is kind of meshed here for me. But whenever the pediatrician said, "Hey, it's okay to start allowing him to sleep by himself. He's getting this many hours. He's eating this much. He's at a good weight, good height. Go ahead and let's start it. Let him sleep by himself." I was like, "Okay." I kicked him out of the room. That's when Steph and I went on shifts. Uh,
You're right.
and I don't know. I think he compared to I'm with you. I'm a stats guy. I like stats. For anybody who is a stats guy, go buy the book Crib Sheet. Amazing book. Lady is a statistician. She like documents everything about her kids and goes through the data and talks to other people and goes through their data. Um, I thought I was going to be one of those parents that documented absolutely everything and had numbers, and apparently I was. I have all the numbers for every poop, how many hours he slept, how many hours he was awake, how much time he did on his belly. I have all those numbers for the first 7 months of his life. Um, but
Do you think about giving this a, give it as a book to? Hey, this is all
I
your
still
stats.
have it. I don't
This.
know. It's an Excel sheet. Like I have all the raw data just ready to go. I don't like looking back now. It was pointless. I don't know why I even
Yeah.
had it. It didn't help me at all. The information at the front, getting it from the statistician, was helpful, but putting it all down was just extra work for me. I don't know. Like you're doing so much with your first kid that it's super pointless to even do that. Um, but yeah, no, I was definitely a stats guy. With our son, we had him sleeping through the night. We got lucky. We had him sleeping through the night at like 3 or 4 months. Like super early. I feel again time is melding a little bit for me, but like now he sleeps 10 hours for the night most of the time, except for now he's sick. Um, but yeah, it's getting into, and this probably leads me to my next topic is creating routines. Um, a routine is super important for an infant, and getting into a behavior where you're doing a proper bedtime routine, you're doing a morning routine, you're doing a playtime routine, and getting him used to, like, okay, if this happens and this happens next, I know these other things will follow. And you do it to the extent that it's just sickening how much you're just doing it over and over and over again. He becomes a lot more comfortable with what's going on. I think that's still true now. Like, we still do everything by routines, and as we transition him from one thing to another, it's easy because we're just replacing one thing out of the routine and everything else stays normal, and he's okay with that. Um, but I know there's other methods too, and I'm not sure. Did you do the? Are you guys doing the routine method, Matt?
We didn't have any strict routines per se. The first 6 to 9 months is quite a blur for us, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but luckily for us, we had Joyce's mom and Joyce's younger brother to staying at the house, and they both helped out a lot
Mm-hmm.
immensely. Especially if they're like, "Hey, if you need to sleep, you go to sleep. We'll take care of her." Um, I think that, but we did go in kind of a sort of a routine, just in the sense of like, okay, it's been about 3 or 4 hours now. She probably needs her milk, so we
Oh
would just
yeah.
like, if she wasn't awake already, quietly wake her up, drink her milk. As Riley's drinking milk, Joyce is pumping milk. So I think the first few months was very tough
Mm-hmm.
because we weren't used to a, this sort of routine in general. This amount of disruption in our daily lives. But I feel like after once you get into it and you do develop your own sort of routine, it gets easier and easier. I felt like for us, but
Oh
then
yeah.
again, we had that, you know, take a village, takes a village to raise a kid
Yeah.
approach
Yeah.
to Riley, which helped out immensely. Which I know wasn't true for you guys.
Yeah, no, I mean it's that's definitely what we wanted, but COVID kind of prevented that. So by the time our son was born, family couldn't come over. Like nobody could actually come see us. I know personally, my parents were devastated because it was the first grandchild in our family that they were not there for the birth of, and I think they're still beating themselves up for that um, today. And I'm with you. Like the most important thing in the world is family. So when they couldn't be around, or much of our family couldn't be around for the first 9 months, that was just difficult. But like I like that we're going back into COVID now. So with the routines, I actually think, at least if you take the routine approach, Steph and I had an easier time because of COVID. With COVID around, we were stuck inside constantly. I worked from home, and Stephanie couldn't work at the time because of COVID, being a healthcare professional. So uh, the routine became like, well, we're here and we can just do these things over and over and over again because it's easy. We're just here. Uh, Whereas if we had to commute, it would have been harder to say, oh well, my job is keeping me over another half hour. I can't start the bedtime routine at 5:30 like I normally do. Um, where we were, I was just like, okay, it's time to get off work. I turn off the computer and I go upstairs and we start working on everything else that need to be done in the house before we start the bedtime routine. So I guess that's one of the advantages of COVID is that we were already in a confined confined space when we were everything can be done a lot easier. I didn't have to worry about commuting, I didn't worry about travel. Um, I will say like the gear, the stuff we needed was a bit more difficult. Things we didn't know we need or we didn't know more of, or as he transitioned out of nipples so quickly, it felt like we were just transitioning fast between the zeros, the ones, and the twos. Um, that we were just purchasing on Amazon and hoping they would work. Like
Oh,
we couldn't
you
just
know
go to
what
Bye
the
Bye Baby and test it out or see or ask a sales associate anymore. Like those resources weren't available. There was no mom or dad groups anymore for those kinds of questions. And Facebook and almost every other social uh, group was kind of engrossed in talking about COVID and its implications. So yeah, I definitely had the opposite experience where we were very much isolated and we had to figure out a lot of things on our own or by calling people and saying, "Hey, XYZ is happening. What do I do?"
how frequent was that for you guys as a first-time parents? Where how often were you guys asking for help?
In terms of like calling people and asking for advice, I think that varies between Steph and I. I feel like Steph would call her friends more often, not because we were stuck, but just to get a different point of view. Steph and I tend to agree a lot about how we should raise our son. For the most part, we agree a lot. And
That's
on
helpful.
my end, and I can really only speak to my experience here, but on my end, I think I called my sister um, a couple times. I think I called my parents once, and my family has a little chat room on Facebook, and like anything happens, I usually just like throw it on there and be like, "Is this normal that he has 108 degrees?" And they'd be like, "No, go to the ER. Kid shouldn't be that." I'm just kidding. That never happened. Um, but
I was about to say 108. Oh my God, Jesus Christ! Did you
but
put him in the oven?
I mean, it was open. It is a gas oven. I don't know. But yeah, so I wish I had the ability to be like, hey, uh, mom, dad, come visit for us for like 2 or 3 weeks. Let Steph and I get one good night's rest,
Right.
um, and just
Do
like
you feel
enjoy that.
do you feel that because of that, those restrictions that you couldn't have family come over because of COVID and everything, and it was just you and Steph, do you feel like that helped you bond more with your kid?
I think it helped me understand him better, and I feel like you know what I mean. But because I was in a confined and we were in the condo for the first 4 months of his life, because I was in a condo with him and I heard every noise he made, I heard every roll he made. I heard when his tummy rumbled, and like I saw every bit of merconium that came out of him. Um, I I felt like I was able to understand him better. What I mean by that is when he cried a certain way, I feel like I caught on to it a lot quicker. I knew when he was hungry. Um, in the first 3 months, like depending on his cry, I knew he really didn't like tummy time. He really did not like tummy time, any bit of it. I swear,
Really?
he looked at me, and if he could lift a middle finger, I think he would have. Um, I've
I can
got
imagine.
I've got
I
pictures
can
of him
imagine
just
that.
staring at me, and I'm just
I,
like, you can't kill me with your eyes. I don't know what to tell you. Uh,
I feel like that won't be the first time for him. for,
no, no.
or well, last time for him.
He still does it. He has a stare now.
Sorry.
He just looks at me with like this blank face, and he's like, "I'm going to make your life hell." And I know that's what he's saying. Like I hear him, and I'm like, same, same kid.
Yes.
Um,
When
but
he goes
yeah.
to therapy in the future, I'll be like, "You see this video? This episode, what he's talking about? Exactly, it's of my problems."
We'll be buried. There's no way this lasts that long. Um, but yeah, I don't know. That's what's something that you learned after your daughter was born that you wish you had known beforehand.
Can you repeat that question one more time?
Yeah, what's something that you wish you had known? What was something you know now that you wish you had known before your first child?
Take it easy. I feel like I was so anxious, especially the first few months, that I still remember when like Riley smiled very early actually as a baby. And because I was so into statistics and doing the and googling things which I shouldn't have done, I realized that like pretty early for her to smile so fast. She was smiling a lot for the first few weeks, a lot, and I instead of enjoying the moment of her smiling at me, like hey, she's smiling at me, I felt like there's something wrong with my baby. Why are you smiling so much? Why are you so happy?
Especially at you. Like if I had you as a dad, God, I wouldn't be smiling.
Exactly, exactly. Don't you know how I am, baby?
I'm just kidding for all the listeners. He's a really good guy.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that clear up. And but I wish I just realized I should just take it more easy and live more in the moment. I know it's very cliche to say that nowadays, but but now now I feel like I try to live more in the moment. Every moment I have with her, I try to just, you know, take a step back, not put my phone down, just look at her, just try to appreciate and remember every moment I have with her. So that was the biggest thing for me. I feel like.
No, that's fair. I think I agree with you. Like I still am super anxious whenever he does anything. We have a fire mantle next to his little play area, and every single time he puts a foot on there, I just imagine his head just going through the glass of the fire mantle, and like I start to sweat, get the jitters. I'm like, God, please get off the frickin' fire mantle. Um, I think what I would tell myself would probably be something emotional as well, and it's just to be more patient. I tend to. I've said this before. I'm a very much a goals oriented person, so I set goals. I tell myself, okay, that's it. And I like statistics to keep me in check of like time markers. Unfortunately, with infants and toddlers, those time markers are so large. So when they say, hey, your kid should be sleeping through the night between 3 to 9 months, you're like, oh,
Right.
that's a 6 month window. But once he hit 3 months, that's when good old Andy was like, hey, you need to be sleeping through the night. I mean, man, if I can go back to kick myself and say, you don't need to be forcing your kid to sleep through the night. Dude's hungry, pick him up, give him some food.
Right.
I think I would have, and I think my patience is probably my biggest downfall. And it's funny because I knew it was going to be. So before he was born, I told myself, be patient, you'll be fine, you got this, and I've calmed down. And you know this. Matt and I have known each other since elementary school.
Middle school, yeah,
Yeah, I
almost elementary school, yeah.
I used to be a hothead. I calmed down a lot, and then I felt a lot of that come back out. Um, in the first probably in the between 3 to 9 months, and still now I'm still trying to.
I feel like it's pretty understandable though, since it was just the two of you. Like,
Yeah, well, that
you could,
and the lack of sleep, like no sleep, you end up forgetting to eat. You just everything. Like I stopped exercising because I just didn't have time, and I didn't want to go run without a mask. It was just terrible. But patience, I wish I had more of. COVID was hard enough, and I feel like I was just making it harder. So I'm with you. Take it easy. Um,
I think
I
for any new parents that are out there,
Yeah.
my advice would be, um, your baby will eventually stop crying. Your baby will eventually sleep. Just have to keep reminding yourself that she's going to sleep. He's going to sleep. It's going to happen. And that this time frame of these months of sleep regression issues, it's going to end eventually, and
Mhm.
things are going to be better. She's going to get They're eventually going to sleep through the night, and you just have to just tough it out just for those few months, even though it's very unbearable. I mean, I imagine it's much worse for Andy than it was for me, but uh, things get better, and you don't have to stress much about it.
Yeah, and
I mean, not to take away from it, it is stressful, but it ends. It eventually ends.
no, that's yeah. I think you're 100% right. I think for if you're a new parent coming into this, and you're watching this because you're trying to figure out what to do. I'm with Matt here. Like, take your time, be in the moment. You're you're going to not realize how fast things go even after the first year. Your kid, you'll look at pictures of the day he was born and 1 year later, and you'll go, this is not the same kid. Like, I must have lost him somewhere and somebody replaced him. This is a different kid, and it's gone. It's like you can't go back to those moments. Sure, the sleep was terrible, but there was periods where the sleep wasn't bad. you had time to hang out with your kid. And if you don't keep those memories, all you're ever going to remember are the bad times. So take those good moments and make them last longer. Um, Integrate them into who you are with your child. And this is not me telling a new parent or lecturing a new parent. This is also me talking to me. Is something that I need to do and something I need to learn how to do on a more daily basis. Uh, with that somber note, Matt, what do we have next week?
Oh, so I was going to ask you, what do you think about the topic of family meal times? Your experience eating with your family growing up, and how you're trying to share that experience with your own family. Do you think that's an interesting enough topic?
Yeah, I think that's good. We want to expand it to the kinds of meals that we want to bring. So, what kind of like the familial meals and why they might be important to us, and we can go into how we structure that around our own families. I think that's a good way to do it, especially since we have the same age between you and us with our kids, but we have two very different cultures that we're backing behind that, and then Tin can give us perspective of what that's like with teenagers, who I can only imagine. I'm not prepared for that. So yeah,
Right.
cool.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. That's a good topic. All right,
Especially
guys.
with my family. Oh, sorry. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, no, that's fine. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us for this episode, and we'll see you in the next one.
All right. See you later, guys.